Welcome to the Bree Pod. I'm here with none other than me, Bree. So we are now on Unfiltered 2, which always makes me think of Metallica's Unforgiven 2. For those of you that love metal, I love metal. Um, so I was inspired to have Unfiltered 2. And last time we actually spoke a couple of times because I also did a debriefing. And I felt I needed to do a debriefing on myself because after I heard my first episode, I gaslighted myself. I took myself out and still allowed myself to take on fault that was not mine. And what I've been learning, what I wanted you guys to know is that, I've been going to counseling, I've been working on healing, and it's important for you guys to know this because in that episode, in the first one, Unfiltered, I'm still in a broken place and I'm still working on these cracks that are, I'm that beautifully broken, I like to call myself. And I'm still working on the cracks. And it's so important that if I'm going to help other women or men, I need to be able to share with you guys that I'm still in that process of healing. So I find that it's so important to know that when you feel you're unworthy, when you feel you're not good enough, we tend to be mad at our inner selves, that inner critic that's always like, you didn't do this right. You didn't do that right. You said this wrong. You should have got out sooner. You should have done this, should have, could have, would have, so on and so forth. But it's important to know that the inner you and the outer you, it's the best I can kind of come up with of how to differentiate between the two. They both are on the same team, right? Like, we're always the first to be mean to ourselves. We're always the first to judge ourselves. But we're actually on the same team. And it makes me think of that song, Us Against the World, except instead of you and your partner, or you and your significant other, or you and your best friend, it's you and your inner you. And maybe you're not against the world, but it's just the importance of realizing that it's okay to befriend that inner soul. Because the inner person that's being mean, the inner person that's saying shoulda, coulda, woulda, is in protection mode. That person wants to protect you. Your inner soul is just worried and fearful and maybe broken. And they want to protect you. And, it's I feel like I think about it like a little yelling match at each other because you're like, I know I shouldn't have been in this. And it's like, wow. But really, I've been learning from therapy sessions and with my healing that we're on the same team. And so I've been learning how to forgive myself and let's make this very clear. When it comes to forgiveness, it's not forgiving yourself. I forgive you that you stayed so long in the relationship. You could have left, but I forgive you. It's more so like, hey, I know you're hurt. I know you're broken. I know people cannot see you right now because you're hiding her, but I love you. And I forgive my action toward you and treating you so poorly because you did not deserve that. And then that's kind of how the whole you're loved, you're cherished, you're worthy came about, is because I want people to know, not only learning it with saying it to myself, but to others, that you and your inner person are loved. You and your inner person are worthy. And it's not okay for us to attack our inner person and be like, you did this to me and it's your fault. Or the opposite, where that inner you is like, how dare you? We should have left like 2 years ago. We're the same person, right? We're the same broken little, unhealed soul that just wants true love. And I'm not talking about the fairy tale true love. I'm just talking about love, support, that nurturing feeling. And so I learned it has taken me 30 years to, get more and more closer to this, but I'm starting to learn that the inner me has value and has worth. And back then, from the previous episode you guys heard, I did not love her and I was not feeling worthy. And so recently, I was thinking of the song from Ariana Grande where it's Thank You Next. And not in like a cocky manner, not like, oh, thank you, bye, Felicia. I mean, like, I do have to say, I appreciate the lessons I have learned because if it wasn't for me learning these lessons, I wouldn't be where I am today. Now, I'm not saying I wanted what happened to me to happen or the same to you, but I know that from myself, I'm a lot stronger than I was back then. And I'm not giving my strength credit to those relationships or to those people that hurt me because they don't deserve that. It's because I found this strength for me. And now don't get me wrong. I'm going to counseling. I'm healing. I have a soul sister group. I have all family support, friend support, and I'm very grateful for all of that. But at the end of the day, the strength came from me. And that is the same for you. Even just by showing up today and hearing me out, you are powerful. You have strength and you are worthy. And I hope that you and your inner you get to have that conversation to know that you are worthy. Now, I know that was a bit of an extended beginning, but I wanted to share a bit more of my story. Now, at the time, if anyone were to ask me how I would describe him, I called him mysterious. But what I find funny about the term mysterious is that 9 times out of 10, at least from what I have learned, mysterious is actually not that mysterious. They show themselves from the very start. So to take you back a little bit, I can't say that he was all bad, right? Because technically, when it comes to relationships like this, it's not always all that bad. And you kind of try to use the good as more of a reason why to stay than to focus on the bad. And so there were many red flags that I was given, but I ignored. And there was actually a time with my ex that I knew that we weren't meant to be, but at the time I just wanted love so bad. I wanted to be seen so bad. And I allowed myself to believe that it could be something. And at the time, I was so, I guess, prideful when it came to the ex, the first ex, because he had posted on Facebook, called me all these names, said that my, new boyfriend at that time had a girlfriend in another area, which turned out to be unfortunately true. But I didn't want to believe him. I mean, he wasn't really the nicest, so I didn't want to believe him. But unfortunately, he was correct. And I did learn later that he was actually leading a couple of us on. But to go back, so we drove about 4 hours away from home, and he pulls over to a field. And he says, Hey, I need you to start walking home or walking toward home because I don't want my ex to see you. And I thought he was joking. Truly, I thought he was joking. So I was like, oh, haha, that's so funny. No, thank you. But he's like, no, I'm serious. I really just want to be respectful to her. And I would just prefer if you just like start walking toward home. And then he pointed the direction of where home was. I was like flabbergasted. I'm like, what? Okay. So like 10 minutes later goes by because he left and picks up his child, comes back, and I'm infuriated. I mean, my red hair vibes are coming like fire is through the ears, through my head, anger. And so I'm trying to be respectful because his child is in the car and I do not want to get into an argument in front of them. But I just am fuming and my face is red. I mean, you could really tell I'm angry. And he's like, don't say anything in front of my child. Um, that's not respectful. And I was understanding of that. I was like, yeah, I don't want to have a fight in front of them, especially since I didn't really know his child that well and I'm trying to get to know him. So we end up going, playing mini golf, having a good time. And it's really late at night by the time we get back to from where we were. And so I told him this time, I'm like, listen, I am not getting out of the car with it being pitch black, but you need to, I don't know how you need to do this, but you need to let me stay in the car. He did. And that should have been the time, right? I was like, bye, we're done. No. No, instead I continued on. And again, like as I've said with many things, the relationship wasn't always bad. So I always found reasons of, oh, this just was a one-time occurrence. It was this or that. And there was a piece of me that felt for him because my ex had gone through a lot of trauma. And I'm not going to take that away from him because he did go through a lot of trauma. But that's where it goes back to hurt people, they say. And it's kind of true. Hurt people do hurt people. And that doesn't mean it's okay. But I use the excuse, well, he has this trauma, he had all these things. And so as time went on, I I started to notice that he seemed a bit too friendly with the women. And my the post that my ex had posted was always in the back of my mind, but I was too prideful to really agree with it. So I kind of would just push it to the side until one day I went to school. And at the time, my ex, I guess, did really good research and found that person because he tagged that person in it. Well, he either them in it or he sent me like a private message and was like, "This is the girl your new man is with." And so I noticed that this girl happened to be at school and I recognized her and I saw my then boyfriend sitting at the table with her. Um, and I was like, kind of giving him a dirty look, like, what's going on here? And you would think, again, that this would be a good time to be like, bye. No. So later, I believed whatever he had to say, like, oh, they're just friends. She's just visiting. And at the time, I was too shy to like introduce myself and be like, hi, I'm his girlfriend. Who are you? I just kind of let it be. And I did that a lot. But if you know me now, I am not that let it be. I'm going to be more, I don't want to say confrontational, but I'm definitely going to come up and be like, hi. Yeah, I'm right here. But at the time, I just wasn't like that. And so as time went on, my ex went through a lot of stuff where he ended up losing his license. He ended up needing to stay with a couple of friends in an apartment. And so he didn't really necessarily have like a full blown setup where we could be alone. So when I would visit him, it would be like in a group of friends, a group of people. And there was a time that he had shown me where the key would be put or placed. And so I decided to surprise him. I thought it'd be perfect. He knew I was coming during that day, but I decided to surprise him earlier. And my parents and my brother and I all shared between the four of us 2 cars. So my parents dropped me off at the house and then they would pick me up like a couple days later. So I just pick up donuts at Stewart's and I get the key. I open the door and I tried calling him. I tried texting him. I figured he was sleeping. He would stay up late, play games. So I kind of expected him to be sleeping. Well, I went into his room and I went to go, surprise, I have these donuts. And there's this girl in his bed. Now, mind you, she was clothed, but it is weird that my man is with another girl in his bed. And it's not the ex or his girlfriend that he's not like his just friends there. It's just some random girl. And so, in the gut, in the pit of my gut, I knew what really that was. But in my head, I just wanted to believe that it was just, I don't know. I tried to make up a bunch of scenarios as to why a clothed girl would be next to my man. So he looked scared and shocked and surprised when he saw me. And I just said, okay, and then walked over to the living room. Now, when I tell my family and friends this, they're after the fact, they're like, girl, what are you doing? And honestly, I don't know. I have no, again, I don't know what I was doing. Um, so he comes out, the girl comes out, they both try to give me this explanation on blah 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 how that happened. And the girl really gave me a ridiculous story. She was like, I was watching a movie and I got scared and I ended up falling off the couch. And so, ironically, they lived with a mutual friend. Instead of choosing her friend that was there, she chose to be in the room with my man. So she had this like nonsense story, and I knew she was lying, but I thought that I was being the stronger person by just saying, hey, girl, no worries. Would you like a donut? That's what I did. And so I couldn't shake the feeling. I always had a pit in my stomach around, you know, the feeling of what was going on, but I always ignored it. Um, and so fast forward, because I ended up just kind of like believing whatever he had said and just hoping for the best on that. But fast forward to school. So I come to visit him at school, and he knew I was coming. Same kind of deal where I was going to get dropped off, hang out with him, and then my family would come pick me up a couple days later. So I meet up with him, we're hanging out, and then very early in the night, I just got there. He kind of lied to me and told me that he had an apartment, or not apartment, but a dorm room, and that we were gonna have so much fun, we'd hang out. But when I got there, he was like, "Oh yeah, sorry, I don't actually have a dorm room. I kind of like hop from dorm to dorm." And I was like, "Okay, but where am I gonna sleep? Because I remember I'm staying the night." And he's like, "I don't know, but you're kind of SOL, you know?" And so he's like, all right, well, it was fun hanging out with you. I told my friends I was going to go play a certain game and I'll see you later. And so I'm at school. I mean, I used to go to this school, but I wasn't living in the dorms. So I'm at school. I have no idea what to do. And I don't want to call my parents and tell them what happened because I am just embarrassed by, this position I put myself in again. And so I end up messaging a couple of friends that had graduated the year prior that I was hoping they'd know someone that could help me out. So one of my friends messages another friend, and we end up talking. And he tells me that he can't help me because everybody was off campus for like, I forgot if it was like I don't know, some holiday or what was going on. So then I end up messaging this guy that I met once. We were in like one of those like extra courses that you needed to take, and we talked once. And I said, I know this is weird, but I need a place to stay. I have nowhere to go. My ex kind of left me high and dry, and I'm embarrassed to call my parents. Can you help me? And this guy was super sweet. He said, yep, you can stay here. Just come to my dorm. I have suite mates, so on and so forth. So he ends up making an area for me to stay on the couch. And when I get there, he's like, you have a choice. You can stay either on the couch, or if you're okay with it and comfortable, you can stay on the floor in my room. And he wasn't doing that to be like weird. It's just he felt if I felt uncomfortable out in the living room because I didn't know the other suite mates, I could just stay on the floor. Well, when I met his roommates, I didn't really know them very well. And the situation already felt very vulnerable. So I said, yeah, actually, I'll just stay on your floor. So we end up hanging out. And I'm on the floor, he's on his bed, and I'm just telling him everything that happened in that day, everything my ex had said to me. And he's like, girl, why? Why are you in this relationship? Why are you together? And I'm just like, I don't know. Like, I love him, or, all these excuses as to what I had at the time. And he's like, but is that true love when, he knows that you're coming and he ditches you and you have to like sleep on a stranger's floor? And the perspective that he had given me, I was kind of floored, because when you hear what you do out loud and you kind of put it in a perspective where you see it, you're just like, what have I done? Like, what did I do? And so we probably there, I don't think we actually went to sleep, because we spent, from the time I got there, it was probably 11 p.m. at night to 7 in the morning just talking. And it was purely genuine. Nothing like, nothing, no tension, nothing like that. It was a purely genuine connection. And I remember him just saying, basically, like, you got to look out for yourself. You need to love yourself enough to know that this isn't for you, and it's not good for you. And so I thanked him so much for letting me stay and giving me support, because I think in many ways that we're given messages, kind of like those angels among us, so to speak. The very next day, I text my ex and I'm like, hey, we need to talk now. This is insane. You left me. Like, I'm ripping a new one in the text. He apologizes and said, hey, let's meet soon. I meet with him, and of course, he has all these excuses as to why it happened the way that he did, and he was sorry that it happened. And then he goes to say to me, oh, hey, I planned a day with my friends, so I have to go. Is that okay with you? And I'm like, dude, I am right here visiting you. I didn't plan on leaving until later that night. I convinced my parents to come get me later. And he's all like, I just want to go to Walmart with my friends. I was seeing red. I said, we are done. Go, leave. I'm done. And so I ended up texting one of my friends who lives not too far away. The only reason why I couldn't stay with her the first couple of nights was she wasn't in the area. So she ends up telling me that she has a key that she hid and that I could go in, and then she'd meet me later. I end up running. I'm not a runner. It's not my thing. I ended up like running very fast, listening to my metal music. And I ran so fast that when I got to my friend's apartment, because it was about, I want to say like 5 minutes away in a car, but about 10 if you're walking. And I ran so fast and so hard. I was very close to like vomiting all over at the end, because I just needed to, like, I had so much anger and I just wanted to run and go. And the thing is, I'm not exactly sure anymore how the true ending of our relationship happened, because I knew I knew that it wasn't going to last. There was a night that I had that feeling, but I was trying to ignore it because I wanted to believe that it would be something more. And I need you to know, though, after many years, and really after he told me about chlamydia, I ended up thanking him for telling me. And I ended up just saying to him, I realized that we weren't meant to be. And I just want you to get help. I want you to heal because what you have done and what you have done to other women is not okay. And they need the best version of you because I know you have the potential to be the best version of you. So I asked it, and I hope, even though it's not for me to say, right? I hope that you can get that help. But I know that at the same time, you're not meant for me. And so with that ex, we left off on, I don't want to say like amazing terms, but we left off on decent terms to the extent that I actually invited him and his family to my wedding with Jeremy. And I know that sounds kind of wild with all the stuff that I just told you, but I think that at the time I learned a lot about myself, a lot that I put up with, a lot of fault that I took on. And I'm just realizing, at this age on how to address it and how to realize that my strength was brought on by myself. It wasn't brought on by anyone else. And so, with all of that being said, um, it's important when you're in a relationship like this, when you've been gaslighted, when you're being treated unfairly, when your worth is so low that all these things happen, it's important to take a moment to not look at yourself and say, oh, you're a jerk face, you're trash, you're this, you're that, because you're upset with yourself, you're upset with getting hurt. But focusing and looking at yourself and saying, hey, you sweet, broken, beautiful soul, I love you and I'm sorry. And it's not that I'm sorry. Again, it doesn't go back to being sorry for other people, but it's being sorry for being that same person that these people were to you, like the gaslighting, the abuse, and I'm talking mental abuse because it brought me to such a low. Like when I found out that my ex was cheating on me, and I found out all these, I kind of knew who they were because the gut feeling just would happen around them, and they would act so tense and weird around me. Um, And I just remember thinking of myself as such trash. I was so mean to myself to the point where I did not care. I didn't care about any relationships. I was back at the YMCA working. I used to would be flirting and texting here and there because my ex and I at the time split up. But after he called me and told me that I had chlamydia, I just lost a piece of me and just looked down on myself. Um, and it took a long time to turn that around. And Jeremy is actually a part of the story on helping me look at it differently. But we have to wait to get to that story because I don't want to make this too long. But I end this before I give the affirmations of letting you know that if you are in a relationship like this, if you are going through the same things, if you are seeing these same instances or resonating with it, please know you are worth more. You can be loved by a good person, and you don't have to accept disrespect. And being selfish, I think that selfish is a bit of a strong word because sometimes it's not bad to be selfish and to have boundaries. And so, with that, I want to leave some strengthening affirmations. And if you do need someone to talk to or, need support, know that I'm going to be bringing on guests to help you call back your strength in that relationship. I'm bringing you along my journey on my story, and I'm learning every day. I'm in therapy now. I'm trying to figure it out, but I intend to bring on guests to help you see your worth and see your strengths. And I'm learning my own. So hopefully I didn't gaslight myself in this episode, but it's important to know that I am healing as well through this process. So with that being said, I leave you with this. For those of you that resonate with affirmation number 1, I say to you, I am good enough. I believe in myself and I am not worthless. For those of you that resonate with affirmation number 2, I am stronger than my temporary painful thoughts. I will not let myself get trapped into a destructive cycle of thinking. And for those of you that resonate with number 3, my peace is mine. I won't give anyone the power to take it away from me. And with that, you are loved, you are worthy, you are cherished, and I am proud of you. Until next time on the Brie Pod. I am also offering affirmation text, so if you would like to join the text message, it'll be a weekly affirmation every Wednesday. Please click the link below. Bye!